Hello and welcome to the video. Today I wanted to talk about painting up our board game miniatures. If you're like me, you have plenty of board games and most of them come with unpainted miniatures. And if you're anything like me, it drives me insane to play with unpainted miniatures. I'd almost rather not play. It's just a weird quirk of mine. So I wanted to get these guys painted up and just show you a beginner friendly way that you can get yours painted up as well with very little effort. And these guys are from the Mutant Zone Wars game. And the game looks fantastic. I can't wait to get it on the table. And I've actually painted up the mutant animal faction for this starter set. If you want to check it out, I did a video on that previously, and I'm going to paint these guys up very similar to how I painted them. But the main focus, or the main point of this video, is just to show you that you can get your miniatures painted up very easily and pretty quickly too. And you don't have to be an expert or anything like that. And I'm going to show you some basic techniques for that. So after priming them black, I'm just going to start putting down base coats on these guys. Nothing fancy, it's just straight color on. You know, you can use whatever color you want, but I'm following the card arts for these guys. It makes it a lot easier. I don't have to come up with my own patterns or anything like that. And that's what we're looking for, is just a nice simple painting job that is going to look good on the tabletop. We're not looking to win any awards with these. We're not looking for somebody to take a magnifying glass and go over them. I mean, for the most part, these are going to be an arm's length away from you on the table, hidden behind some terrain maybe, you know, and you're going to be playing the game with them. So these don't need to be expert level to look impressive on the tabletop. And you don't need to put that much effort into them to get some decent results. So that's why I encourage you to give this a shot. If you have some board games sitting around, and you know, maybe this might actually rekindle some of your passion for playing the game, is getting these guys painted up. And I'm kind of curious, let me know in the comments if you have a particular board game that's sitting around maybe that you've been wanting to paint the miniatures. A lot of these board games anymore come with fantastic sculpts. I've painted a lot of board games over the years, and some of them are just really impressive. I mean, nowadays, I almost get the board game based on the miniatures. If I look and I really like the sculpts, I'm almost more tempted to pick up the board game than how it plays. That's the first thing that catches my eye, is just how cool the miniatures are. And I get a kick out of just painting up the miniatures and then sitting and admiring them, and half the time I end up not getting time to play the actual game. But recently I've actually started to display a lot of my miniatures, where before I would just pack them in a box and put them away into storage and never see them again. But recently I started putting up some shelving in my room, and I've been displaying them so that I can take a look at them more often and appreciate them. So that's something too that you might want to consider. You know, you're putting this time and effort into painting these guys, and they look really cool. They're fun to look at. You know, maybe find a way to display them on in a curio cabinet, hang up some shelving around your room, and just put these guys out. You can build some terrain for them. You can make some dioramas for them, and just enjoy them all the time rather than putting them in the box. It's just something that I've started to do recently, and I kind of really appreciate it. So painting these guys up, you want to try to be careful. You don't want to be super sloppy with them, but really we're going to do an oil wash over top of them, and it's going to hide a lot of the imperfections. So you don't have to be overly careful. I know a lot of people don't paint because they don't think that they could stay in the lines this good, but you know, just do the best you can. We're going to hide a lot of this, and they're going to come out looking great. Alright, now that we got our base coats on all of these figures, now I'm going to do an oil wash. And I've done this previously in other videos, but again, all we're going to use is black, and I'm going to do a little bit of burnt umber in this one, and you're going to need thinner. And I don't have a certain recipe for this or anything. I just put down a gob of the black, a gob of the brown, and you don't even have to use the brown. You can just use pure black if you want. And I'm going to put a little bit of the thinner in my palette as well. And I'm just going to mix them as I need them. If it's a little too watery, I'm going to mix in more of the paint to the thinner. Usually it's like an ink kind of consistency, and I just go back and forth and mix in more or less of what I'm looking for. If I want a heavier wash on the guys, I add more paint, and if I want it a little bit thinner, I just use more thinner. And all I'm gonna do is just really just paint this over the entire model. I want this to cover everything. And with these oil washes, they really do get into all of the recesses. They cover everything up so nicely. Usually it's a very fast process. It just takes a little bit of time to dry. And all you're gonna do is once you get these guys totally covered, you're just gonna let them set for, I let them go about 30 minutes or so, maybe an hour. I wouldn't let them go too long. It's just gonna make you have to scrub a little bit more to get the excess off. Now after about 30 minutes or so, I'm gonna put in some clean thinner and I'm gonna get a makeup sponge. And these makeup sponges really are nice to use. They're so cheap, you can get a bag of them at the dollar store. So it's not really expensive or anything. And you're just gonna lightly drag it over the miniature. Whatever you do, be careful, do not press too hard or else you're gonna rub off your base colors. So just really, really gently, just drag it over the miniature where you wanna remove the wash. And the more that you go over it, the more of the wash that you're gonna remove. So just, take your time, figure out where you want it to be darker, where you need it to be lighter, where the light's gonna hit, and just carry on. Now, if you do not want to do oil washes, that is perfectly fine. You can use the GW washes, Vallejo washes, any acrylic wash will do just fine. And you can skip all of this step. I just prefer the oil. I think that they give a cleaner look. But again, we're going to come back in and we're going to do a little bit of highlighting this time on these guys. So if you want to use the acrylic washes and not even bother with some of this, go for it. They're going to come out looking great as well. So it really depends on you which one you prefer. But either one will work just fine. I would let them dry at least 12 hours or so. You really want to make sure that that oil is nice and dry because it takes a lot longer than acrylic paints. But here are the guys all finished up. And at this point, you could stop. They're going to look fine on a table as is. No need to go any further. They look a lot better than when they were unpainted. They have a nice dirty look to them. These are post-apocalyptic guys, so I'm certain that they are not the cleanest bunch of ruffians in the area. But what I want to do is just do a little bit of highlighting on them with the original colors, just to bring them back a little bit. Now, all I'm doing is using the same colors that we used on the base coats, and I'm mostly focusing on the raised areas, like any folds in the clothing, or anywhere that the light is really going to shine off of. That's where I'm going to focus on putting a little bit of highlights here. I'm not doing anything fancy. Again, these are tabletop quality. They're at an arm's distance, but this will just give them just that little bit of extra detail that you can really appreciate. And this method, I'm just demonstrating for board game purposes, but you can use this on any of your miniatures. If you play historical war games, this would be great for those little guys. If you play 40K, you can certainly do this to get an army ready for the table really quickly. Any tabletop war game, board game, this method's going to work really well. One other thing that I was thinking of while I was editing this video is if there is a painting technique that you're interested in for, painting your board game miniatures or any other miniatures that you have, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to try a new technique out and see how it works for me as well. I'm always very interested in finding new techniques that'll help me get my miniatures painted up quickly and looking decently for the tabletop. And here's our guy all finished. I think we did a good job of matching the card art for just doing basic colors, a wash, and then a really quick highlighting. Not a whole lot of detail in him, but as you can see, he easily passes for what the card art has inspired. And I think he looks pretty good. As with the rest of them, they all seem to come out really good as well. Now for these, I'm going to add basing. Now you can simply paint the base here a solid color and be done with it, but I wanted to add a little bit of grass and texture to it. So I'm just putting down a good bit of Elmer's glue on here, and I'm going to smear this around. And we're just going to dip this in some coarse sand gravel mix that I have. And I really like this mix. It's super easy to use and it gives you a good effect. And best of all, it was free off of somebody's driveway. And I'm going to let these guys sit in here overnight. I found that if you don't, some of the glue will show through and it gives it a weird look to it. So it's just better to leave it heaped up in here overnight so that any extra glue grabs a hold of the sand. Now once they're all dry, I just give them a quick little wash of black paint just to darken it up a little bit, and then I'll come back through once it's dry and just dry brush over top of it with a lighter brown. Sometimes I'll use a yellow, or you can use a gray. It's just dirt, so you can kind of just do what you want with it as long as it's still earthy looking. And all I'm doing is adding some of these grass tufts that I've purchased. And if you haven't ever tried using these, I highly recommend them. They're super easy and they look great. They're really not that expensive. I think this pack was around $6, so that's not a bad deal. Alright, our guys are all done, and I put them in front of my stable that I created in my last video. If you're interested in how to make that, go ahead and check that one out. But I think these guys came out fantastic, and it really took no time at all to put on your base coat, do a quick wash, quick highlighting, and then base them. And they're going to look great on the tabletop. I'm really happy with them. I like the dirtier, grungier look for them. I mean, these guys are in a post-apocalyptic world. So, you know, let me know what you think of them in the comments. I think they came out good for the amount of effort and time that they took. And I hope that this inspires you to get some of your board games painted up as well. It really doesn't take a whole lot, and you can get some really good results. So with that, I want to say thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.